This webinars on the global share services dedicated to UN Fleet. The session will be recorded for the benefit of the colleagues that couldn't join today, and of course for future reference. Perfect, so we can kick off. And dear colleagues, good morning, good afternoon. It is a pleasure to speaking with you today. My name is Giovanni Pio from WP, co-chair of the Global Share Service Task Team, that is an interagency group of interest promoting and launching more and more these activities are location independent. I will be doing a very short introduction, just 5 minutes, to give a little bit more information and context about GSS, and then we'll hand over to the UN Fleet team. As you know, GSS today is a key component of the UN reform agenda. And it is, of course, part of the broader global supply architecture that will support UN services. GSS is looking after location-independent activities that will complement and supplement location-dependent activity that are well known as BOS, common back office, and common premises. And moving to the next page, I want also say that we did revise a little bit the terminology. Is no longer GSSC, but is GSS, because we are no longer referring to service provided by a physical traditional service center. In 2022-2023, we need to include also those services that are provided by service delivery hubs, digital platforms. For example, we saw last week the UN Booking Hub, the WFP Logistics Marketplace, and today we'll see the UN Fleet Portal. These are platforms that will enable and foster collaboration without a physical presence that we thought long ago was the way forward. Let me also say that given the COVID, the new ways of working, and the expanded use of technology, fundamentally these days, location independent is the largest opportunity for efficiency gains and for collaboration between field and headquarter level, because service can just become available without being present into the specific location. GSS is a 40% of the entire efficiency agenda, and we're working hardly to achieve this amount of efficiency gains. Moving to the next page, thank you. Okay, it's only one page. Perfect. So let me also add, if you can keep Javier on mute, some of the participants, thank you. Let me just also add that GSS is a market-driven solution. Service provider, they will offer the service. So recipient, they will adopt their service organically due to mutually aligned incentive that require, of course, an investment for the interagency to get together, but the benefits are there, because if large service providers are moving forward to this service provision, is because there is a value in terms of efficiency and effectiveness, quality, and of course, price of the services. And it will take some time to implement, but is the right trajectory to have more collaboration between service providers and service recipient. The service are, of course, something that we promoted starting from this year. We have a portfolio of 43 GSS services. This is one of the 43, and the largest service providers are the usual agencies that have a global scale and therefore ability to scale up and serve other agencies. With this one, now I'll hand over to Phil Jones, head of UN Fleet. Thank you, Phil, to be with us today.
Thanks, Giovanni, and welcome everyone to this webinar on UN Fleet. So my name is Phil Jones, I'm the head of UN Fleet, and I'm pleased to give you a short introduction, and then I'll hand over to the team who will take you through a presentation on the services that are available and how you can access them. So just a bit of background, WFP and UNHCR together operate a combined fleet of 10,000 light vehicles, and both agencies had separately developed advanced fleet services to optimize how fleet management was carried out and implemented across all the locations globally. These services started with the launch of internal leasing programs within both agencies. That was in 2007 and 2014 respectively. So together the agencies have 25 years experience in operating these internal leasing programs. The leasing programs were followed by the introduction of additional services that increased support to the country operations globally. Under UN reform, under the initiative, the Business Innovation Group identified a significant opportunity for these fleet services to be offered to the broader UN community. And a business case confirmed that large efficiency gains were possible. The business case told us that for the UN community as a whole, there's an opportunity to realize estimated recurring savings of between 17 and $28 million per annum, and a one-off saving of between 25 and 69 million. So these are significant numbers. Clearly, there's a range there because it depends on the implementation rate and take up, but there's a significant saving opportunity for the system. In light of this experience of the agencies and also the UN reform findings, the senior management of WFP and UNHCR agreed that the two agencies would come together and provide fleet services to the UN community. This resulted in the setup of UN Fleet as a joint initiative, providing services on a cost recovery basis, which is a no loss, no gain basis, to other agencies. And client agencies, as we like to call them, using the services have a key role to play in shaping the fleet solutions so that we can better respond to partners' needs. So to date, significant investment has been made in resources and funds by WFP and UNHCR to set up and implement UN Fleet for the benefit of other agencies. We started operations officially in October 22, 1 month ago, with the signing of agreements with UNFPA and UNICEF. And we've got other agencies that we expect to sign in the very near future, 2 hopefully before the end of the year. So we're now up and running and ready to deliver services. So for us, it's a very exciting time. We'll now play a short video, which will give you an overview of UN Fleet, and then I'll hand over to the team for the presentation and give you more details. Thank you.
As the United Nations community works to align with the 2030 Agenda, cost-effective fleet services are core to every operation. And thanks to startup funds from both WFP and UNHCR and their nearly 25 years of combined proven fleet experience, we have a solution. The UN Fleet is here to offer straightforward and affordable vehicle lifecycle management services to the entire UN through a tried and tested vehicle leasing scheme. Our customer-focused services are guided by 3 UN reform principles, offering UN agencies qualitative benefits in addition to quantitative efficiency gains. And the best part? We're fully digital. The UN Fleet portal puts our entire portfolio of leasing options and services at your agency's fingertips and allows us to provide 24-hour support. On the UN Fleet portal, clients can profile their fleet to better fit their operational needs, select vehicle accessories, and place and track leasing orders. Thanks to our agreements with leading vehicle manufacturers, we take care of vehicle procurement and offer new standard vehicle models for economic leasing rates. Our vehicle preparation centers hold stocks of standard vehicles and accessories and are strategically located, facilitating global coverage and short delivery time. We've got your agency covered with vehicle procurement, preparation, modification, shipping, and even a self-insurance scheme that provides worldwide insurance coverage for damage and loss conveniently incorporated into all leasing contracts. And finally, UN Fleet only offers new and modern vehicles with a maximum lease duration of 5 years. The service provides disposal and replacement services at the vehicle's end of life. This keeps things easy and manageable for your agency and supports in reducing the environmental impact of your fleet. Additionally, our standard vehicle model catalog is expanding to include low-emission vehicles like hybrid electric vehicles and electric vehicles. UN Fleet. Safe, efficient, and sustainable vehicles for the UN system. We're ready. Are you?
the video. I believe it is now on to Rob.
Yes, thank you, Javier. Let me see if our colleagues from UN Fleet have any technical issue. Phil,
Hi,
Meryl,
Giovanni,
Rob.
I'm here. Rob, are you there?
All right.
Hi there, I'm here.
Okay, please, over to you.
Go ahead.
Okay, good. All right, thanks very much. Slight problem with the sound there. Thanks very much, Giovanni. Thank you, Phil. Phil has just briefly explained what is UN Fleet, and that video gave you a little bit of an insight into that as well. And I'd like to talk to you about why is UN Fleet existing, and how do you lease, and what are the benefits that leasing would bring to your agency, your organization, your operation. My name is Rob McConnell. I work with UN Fleet. I'm one of the key team at UN Fleet, and I hope very much that this presentation will give you information that you need to understand more. Please, please offer questions. We have a Q&A session at the end of the presentation. If you could put your questions into the chat, we will deal with the questions at the end. We use the UN portal, as Giovanni mentioned. My colleague Meryl will give a quick demo of the portal toward the end of the presentation. So as Phil said, UN Fleet is building on the experience of World Food Programme, UNHCR. Collectively, these two agencies have more than 10,000 vehicles on lease. This is in more than 120 countries. So pretty much every country, every operation has been serviced by these two agencies, and we are leveraging their knowledge, their experience, and their know-how that they've collected over this period. So, next slide, please, Meryl. Question is why? Well, as I think Giovanni mentioned in his introductory slides, we talked about the importance of UN reform, the initiative that we're trying to build efficiencies through the UN system. And when we built the business model and the ethos of UN Fleet, we're focusing on these key criteria of client satisfaction. UN Fleet is primarily here to service the clients and to achieve client satisfaction. And we will measure and monitor that we are achieving that. We have got standardized pricing and costing. And we have also that we're working on the basis of mutual recognition. Thanks. So there's also the key drivers of any modern fleet operation, whether it be within the UN, in the commercial sector, or in the public sector. Fleet is primarily driven by safety. Safety of our staff, the people who are traveling in the vehicles, but also of other road users. And by using modern, new vehicles, we assure that our vehicles are in the best condition. Efficiency. There are huge economies of scale to be gained through centralized fleet management, through whether it be through acquisition, through operation, or disposal. That centralized approach generates enormous efficiencies, and we want to maximize those. And indeed, sustainability. UN system collectively and agencies individually have made pledges to improve environmental performance and develop sustainability. Newer vehicles and introduction of more lower emission vehicles, fewer large heavy duty vehicles. We want to change the profile of the fleet. We want to introduce more sustainable vehicles that generate lower emissions. Those are the three key objectives of UN Fleet. Next, please. So, how do we do this? Well, it's interesting because when we've talked to different agencies, we've been in discussion with many agencies throughout the UN system to discuss with them what their needs are, what would they like to get from UN Fleet. And a consistent message we are getting is vehicle procurement is burdensome. It's becoming increasingly burdensome as emission regulations and other homologation regulations around the world become increasingly complex. And the expertise, there's a limited amount of expertise for vehicle procurement. And what we're offering is we will provide that expertise on vehicle procurement, and indeed we'll generate the economies of scale. So we are going to identify the most flexible and custom-oriented solutions to meet operational needs. Again, UNHCR and WFP have supported 120 countries, 10,000 vehicles. We have access to a huge pool of knowledge of an experience. So we do understand operational needs. UN Fleet supports the lifecycle management. It's very key that we manage the life cycle of a vehicle. This is why we have a very fixed period of life of a vehicle. The UN Fleet leases are normally 5 years. At the end of 5 years, a vehicle is retired and disposed. If you want to continue with the lease, a new vehicle is brought in. But vehicle operating costs and emissions increase over time. And we have determined that 5 years is an optimum time for the life cycle management. We are supporting the environmental impact. We are aiming to reduce that environmental impact by, as I say, introducing newer vehicles, introducing the options of hybrid and electric vehicles, although the options for them are fairly limited at the moment due to availability, but also countries where these vehicles can be supported by manufacturers. But also changing the profile of our fleets. So we're using more lighter duty vehicles. We're using minibuses where 2 or 3 Land Cruisers have been used in the past and so on. Looking at the profile, just making that fleet more efficient, reduce and lowering the emissions of the fleet. And indeed, number 5, we sort of manage a whole area of the fleet management responsibilities that exist at country level. Next, please. So the lease, we have a fairly standard lease. The period is 5 years. The monthly lease rate is determined at the beginning of the lease and remains constant over the entire lease period. The lease does not, the monthly leasing rate does not change over time. Can you please put your mic on mute, please? Somebody has got their mic open. Please put your mic on mute. Thank you very much. All vehicles are covered for loss or damage by insurance provided by UN Fleet. So for the entire period that the vehicle is in an operation, loss and damage to the vehicle is covered within the leasing fee. There is no additional cost. The country office must indeed obtain local third-party insurance, but the loss and damage to the vehicle is fully covered. So in a kind of summary, you know, in the 4th point here, we take care of a whole bunch of tasks, fleet management tasks that can be burdensome. There is procurement. We buy vehicles in bulk, we hold them in stock. Some of the pictures you saw earlier on in the video and in some of the slides, there we have large numbers of vehicles in different locations. We prepare those vehicles. We receive them from the manufacturer. We then equip them with whatever, we do the pre-delivery inspection. We add equipment that is requested by the country office, and we arrange for that shipping of that vehicle. So when that vehicle arrives in country, the receiving office simply has the responsibility to facilitate the customs process, providing the necessary exemptions and clearances for tax exemption and so on. And indeed, at the end of the 5-year period, we, UN Fleet, will take the vehicle out of service and arrange for the disposal. And again, we know that the disposal is a very burdensome responsibility. That is our role. We manage that for you. Next. So, what does the offer comprise? As I said, we have standard vehicles. We have accessories, and we can equip those vehicles, whether it be with winches or bull bars or radios or sat phone docking stations and so on. We can do that in a very highly controlled environment with a very high level of quality assurance. However, we also know that many countries and an increasing number of countries are imposing restrictions and controls on the number of and type of vehicles that we can bring into the country. Therefore, we have the means to provide non-standard vehicles. So if it's not one of the vehicles we keep in stock, whether it be a specialist one-off acquisition, we can manage that. For one agency at the moment, we're procuring 2 vehicles for India. India is a country into which we can't import vehicles very easily, so we're doing local procurement. We will procure those vehicles locally and convert them onto a lease. So the field office in India will be leasing those vehicles that were actually procured in country. And as I mentioned a few moments ago on the previous slide, all vehicles are covered for loss or damage during the lifetime of the lease. So what are the standard vehicles? These are the vehicles that you're most familiar with. And I mentioned a couple of times, I think, that UNHCR and WFP have a combined fleet of more than 10,000. I think it's like 10,500 vehicles. Now, 85% of those vehicles are within these standards. These are vehicles that you all recognize and you know. But then, as I say, we can provide non-standard vehicles. The Ukraine crisis demonstrated that we needed to be able to provide Euro 6 compliant vehicles for operation in Europe. And so we've had a whole stream of Euro 6 compliant vehicles delivered to that operation for different agencies. And indeed, we are aware that there is this increasing demand for lower emission vehicles, whether they be electric or hybrid. We are adding these types of vehicles to the list of vehicles that can be obtained. However, it must be said, we are trying to keep the standard vehicle catalogue limited because there are implications with stock holding, because the most efficient means of procurement, stock holding and delivery, and therefore the lowest lease rates is if we really focus on standard vehicles wherever possible. As I say, 85% of the vehicles provided by those 2 agencies are aligned with those standard vehicles you see at the top, but with an increasing number of both these other ones. Thank you. No, that slide's fine. So we add accessories to our vehicles. Now, we have a standard list of accessories as well, but these include, for heavy duty 4x4s, we have the metal front bumper, we have the winch, we have HF radio. Very often the HF radio antenna needs to be mounted on that heavy duty bumper. We can put in Motorola's VHF, there's roof racks. Number of agencies are requiring vehicle tracking systems, whether it be satellite or hybrid systems, PTT, Iridium PTT docking stations, jerry cans, and so on. And indeed, we can also, when we are preparing the vehicles, we can also add, if requested, the logos of the specific client agency. We hold, for the agencies we're working with now, we hold stocks of logos, stickers, so that when an individual order is being prepared, this list of accessory can be selected in the portal, which we will describe shortly, and the vehicle can be developed to meet your specific requirements. Each vehicle is prepared to order. We don't hold standard vehicles ready to roll, but we can move the vehicle through the vehicle preparation center very quickly. And these are we have a number of different stocks, so we hold stocks in these different centers. You can't see it very clearly on this slide, I can see, but in Europe, we hold stocks in Rotterdam. That serves a number of different locations. It's the geographical allocation doesn't seem totally logical, but there's strongly reasons why we're in these different locations. We have a vehicle preparation center in Dubai, and in that preparation center, there is also a stock of several hundred vehicles. And thirdly, we have Lam Shabang, which is in southern Thailand, a free port in southern Thailand, where we actually hold many hundred vehicles. It's very close to point of manufacture. Many vehicles come in from Japan, of course. And we stock many hundreds of vehicles there. The stock varies from time to time, but often in terms of up to 1,000 vehicles are sitting there at any given time. The quality control in these vehicle preparation centers is truly second to none. They are very professional, and the vehicle, when the vehicle leaves the preparation center and is put into a container, because most of our vehicles are actually shipped in containers, they are absolutely field ready. What is just required is on receipt, once the vehicle has been customs cleared, the vehicle must be registered by the receiving office. The vehicles are consigned to the requesting agency. They're handed over on a gift certificate, which is the equivalent of a commercial invoice. So effectively, for all intents and purposes, and certainly for customs clearance and for registration, that vehicle is, you are the owner of the vehicle, and therefore the vehicle is registered in your name for its duration.
And I was like, okay, I'll look at it. Then you are now saying that.
Can you please? Thank you, Madison. Okay, so yes, as I said again, all the vehicles are fully insured without against loss or damage, without any deductible throughout the lease period. All vehicles are covered by warranty, but we must point out that local third-party insurance is an obligation on the receiving field office. This is according to the law of most countries. It is required that the person or the entity operating the vehicle must have local third-party liability insurance. So, as I said, at the end of 60 months, the lease expires. We will be in touch with you well before the end of the lease period to determine, do you want to continue the lease at the end, or in which case we will prepare and ship you a new vehicle. So when the new vehicle comes in, you will be able to decommission and retire the old vehicle. Or even if you do not want to continue, just notify us that you do not want to extend the lease, and the same thing, you just decommission the vehicle at the end of lease, and we take care of disposal. Decommissioning just means basically you deregister the vehicle and you hand it over to our team. So we know that the vehicle disposal can be a very complex process, very troublesome, very burdensome, and so that is just part of that service that UN Fleet provides. The issue of environmental impact is of increasing importance. Every single agency we're dealing with has made a pledge to reduce emissions. After travel and buildings, vehicle fleets for most agencies represent one of their biggest contributions to CO2 and other noxious emissions. We've got ways to work with you to reduce those emissions. As I said to you before, newer vehicles are cleaner, for sure, no question. So that's why we have to limit, we would like to limit the lifetime of the life cycle of that vehicle to 5 years. But it's more than simply just replacing an old vehicle with a new vehicle and thereby reducing emissions. We want to introduce more lower emission vehicles. Now, lower emission vehicles can, of course, mean electric and hybrid vehicles, but a small sedan or a medium-sized sedan has a much lower rate of emission than a heavy-duty 4x4. So we would assist you in understanding your fleet and making decisions that enable you to introduce lower emission vehicles, smaller engine vehicles, lighter vehicles wherever possible. So, as I say, modern vehicles with a maximum of 5-year life cycle. So, it all sounds wonderful. How do we lease? How do we lease vehicles from UN Fleet? Well, basically, there's 2 steps, really. UN agencies at HQ level sign a global service agreement. We've already done this with a number of agencies. UNICEF are in the party, UNFPA, we've been working with them. We have several others. We are waiting for the documents to be signed. We're very close. And then once that agreement is placed, individual country offices, field offices, operations can then, through the UN Fleet portal, access the offer. They can go into the portal, identify the vehicles they want, look at put together a vehicle leasing request, which my colleague Merrill will describe to you very shortly. And then when that vehicle leasing request is created, you will get back from UN Fleet a pro forma invoice, which will indicate the availability, the cost, and estimated delivery time for the vehicles that you have selected. If that is acceptable to you, you sign and approve the PFI, the pro forma invoice, and if necessary, attach a PO to it, and that will initiate the process where a vehicle is drawn from stock. If it's a stock vehicle, or if it's a non-standard vehicle, we will begin the process to purchase that vehicle, prepare it, and ship it and deliver it to your operation. Very straightforward, the portal. Somebody was saying to me the other day, if you can buy an airline ticket, you can easily do a vehicle leasing request. It's very simple, very intuitive, but we'll see that in a moment. So the portal is the portal. It is the single interface. We've noticed in the past, and this is we've really put a lot of effort into developing this portal, and the support has been fantastic. The team who've put it together have been really quite brilliant, in my view. Normally in vehicle procurement, as we've discussed with agencies, what they want to get rid of is there's constant back and forth between the agency, the users, the head office, the budget holder. If there's a regional office needs to give approval and so on. It takes months and an endless trail of emails and exchanges and phone calls. We really streamline that process by working through the UN portal. The UN portal is accessible to all staff using their corporate email account. So when an agency asks for access, we grant access to the portal so anybody with a corporate email can enter. It's very simple, but then there's a second step, because if you're a person who has the requesting rights or has the rights to put in a vehicle request, that's a second level of access that is granted in agreement with your organization. But basically, unfleet.org, anybody with a UN an approved UN email account can access the portal. So I'd like to see more about this portal. It's a demo, so I'm going to hand over to my colleague Meryl. So she's just got to change out of the presentation, and she's going to open the portal and give you a little run through. At the end of that, we will do our Q&A session. So Meryl, over to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Rob, and I hope everybody can hear me. My name is Meryl van Echtdom, and I'm a project and reporting officer with UN Fleet. As Rob said, the portal for UN Fleet is really the one-stop shop where you can find an entire overview of our leasing offer, but also place your leasing request and follow the entire process of your leasing request all the way up until the disposal. As Rob said, the portal can be accessed on unfleet.org, where when you navigate to that link, you will be taken to this landing page that you see on my screen now. If you want to know a little bit more about UN Fleet, there's a link here to a SWAY information page, in which we also have a lot of general information on UN Fleet, which is accessible to anyone. And as Rob said, any person with a UN email address can access the general interface of the portal. So I will be logging in with my @wfp.org email account, but you can use your regular corporate UN email address, whether that is a UNICEF address, a UNFPA address, an @un.org address. If you, however, do face any issues in accessing the portal, it might be that your specific UN agency still needs to whitelist the UN portal. If that is the case, please click this button here, which will automatically open up an email to our support team to help you out in setting up the whitelisting. To log in, like I said, you simply enter your corporate email account and you click sign in. It will then bring you to the homepage of the UN Fleet portal. Now, the way this will look will differ by the type of agency you belong to. As Rob said, there are additional steps that can be used on the portal if your UN agency has signed a global service agreement with UN Fleet. Any UN staff member can navigate to the majority of these black bars that we're seeing here at the top. The only exception being the actual leasing request. Leasing request can only be placed, as Rob explained, following the signature of a global service agreement between UN Fleet and your specific UN agency. And once that is in place, UN Fleet will set up specific customer offices for each of your agency's operations that require leasing request. However, as I said, any person can navigate the other sections of the portal, which includes the vehicle catalog that we have to offer, where you can get full overview of the standard vehicles we are currently offering, including a handy filtering tool, which helps you in finding the most appropriate vehicle for your operation. So by answering question on which type of road you would be using the vehicle and for which purpose you would be using the vehicle, the UN Fleet portal will automatically provide several options of appropriate vehicle models for you, and you can then find more details on those models by clicking on the specific vehicle. You can also download a technical specification sheet by clicking on technical details. Similar to the vehicle catalog, we also have our accessory catalog that Rob quickly mentioned during his presentation, where you can find information on all the accessories that UN Fleet is currently offering. Each vehicle will come with a standard vehicle pack and a first aid kit at no additional cost, but there's a selection of accessories that you can equip your vehicle with at your own selection. Then, as Rob also mentioned, each vehicle will come with insurance coverage for loss and damage to the vehicle, for which more information can be found here. Any general questions on UN Fleet are also summarized under our frequently asked questions section already, where you can find more information. So let's quickly look as well on the process of placing an actual leasing request. As I said, this functionality will be available to users in agencies which have leasing agreement with UN Fleet. And following that step, your agency will need to tell us which specific offices need to be set up and which team members need to be assigned to it. So not every user in each UN agency that signs an agreement will automatically be able to place a leasing request. We will coordinate with the headquarters fleet management unit on who can be assigned these specific roles. As you see here in the top right, I have been assigned to a UNICEF office for the purpose of this portal walkthrough. To place a leasing request, as was mentioned, we really want it to be as easy as possible. So we believe that if you can place booking for a flight ticket online, you will also be able to place a vehicle leasing request. To start with, you would have to indicate your country of destination. Currently, here you see a drop-down menu of several countries, which, as I mentioned, is prepared based on the coordination with a specific headquarter entity of the client agencies. And once you've made your selection, you can confirm your final destination. The portal will then bring you back to the vehicle catalog, where again, through the use of the drop-down menu, you can find the most appropriate vehicle for your operation. And once you have made your selection of your desired vehicle, you can equip the vehicle with optional accessories. We indicate the driving side, and the portal will automatically provide you with a cost summary, following which you can add the vehicle to your leasing request. Now, you could do this with as many vehicles as you want, or you could proceed by just placing a request for one vehicle, where the portal again will provide you with several financial information. And the last stage would be to add shipping details to the form. Now, in the interest of time, I will not be completing this entire form, but following completion of this form, you would simply submit your leasing request. It will then be channeled to a focal point at your agency's headquarters, who will either validate or reject your request. And after validation of your headquarters entity, it will reach UN Fleet for further processing, as Rob mentioned, in the preparation of a pro forma invoice, following which your office can decide to either go ahead with formalizing the leasing request or not. Now, once you have been assigned to a customer office, you will also have a dedicated My Fleet area where you can find any of the leasing plans you save or orders you have already submitted in the past, and you can initiate a new leasing plan. For users at headquarter entities, there will be a digital office in which they can find all the specific leasing requests in their entity to maintain oversight over all the requests. So in short, this is a very quick walkthrough of the portal. As I mentioned, we have a support team available in case you do need any support with placing your releasing request, and we're very happy to reach out to you to support you. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Meryl. I know it's very difficult to whiz through that quickly. It's a very impressive portal, and I do encourage you to go in and have a look. And if for any reason you can't get access, I would reach out to info.unfleet@unfleet.org. And if you are not able to get access, just indicate the agency you're with, and we will endeavor to ensure that you are granted access. And so that's the address. It's unfleet.org. Go and have a look, go and play, go and investigate, go and check it out. It's not complicated. And thank you again, Meryl. Okay, so I think we have 15 minutes, perfect timing for Q&A. I think I can see some hands are coming up. I think we've had a couple of questions coming into the chat. I just see that one that just appeared. Is there a minimum leasing period? The standard lease is 60 months, but we of course understand that not every operation can plan 5 years ahead. Our budgeting cycles don't permit that, and so on. So leases can be terminated early. There is a cost associated with it, but we try and mitigate that cost. And I can't give you clearly a precise cost of early termination, but we have a number of mitigations to minimize potential cost of early termination. However, the agreement is you may terminate the lease anytime after 6 months. So you're not committed. Another question we've had is, can leased vehicles be loaned to other agencies? Yes, they can. I mean, that's an agreement that agencies have. We know that many agencies operate with implementing partners. However, we have a leasing agreement with the UN agency. If that UN agency chooses to loan that vehicle to another agency or implementing partner, they still maintain, they are still responsible. The leasing agency remains responsible for that vehicle. So if anything happens to the vehicle, although it's insured, but for reporting purposes and so on, the agency who's taken out of the lease is responsible. However, that agency may choose to loan that vehicle to other agencies under a right of use or whatever other agreements you use. Would point out that if the vehicle is imported tax-free and it's registered in the name of the agency, it should only really be used by a UN agency. So you have to be careful about registering vehicles in the name of a UN agency and then loaning them to NGOs, but that's not anything to do with the UN fleet. We also had a question, the life is 5 years. We had a question, is there a limit on the number of kilometers? No, effectively not. We know that when we study the use of vehicles, generally speaking, we do not, as collectively as agencies, we do not do very high kilometerage. But it makes good fleet management sense if you've got one vehicle that you can see is doing very many more miles than another. I remember looking at a case of a vehicle that was doing a regular daily shuttle from Baghdad to Lebanon. It was doing a shuttle service, so it was doing hundreds of miles and thousands of miles a month. It makes sense that you rotate. You don't use the same vehicle all the time. You rotate that vehicle. It's not good fleet management sense to heavily use one vehicle and underuse others. Somebody's asking the question, is maintenance and repair, maintenance servicing, excuse me, included in the lease? No, it's not. We're not able to provide that at the moment because the distribution of vehicles is so far and wide. Maybe it's a future service that we would like to look at in certain locations. We would like to include it. So you could have a package. I mean, in advanced leasing markets, leasing companies offer an entire package. We call it a wet lease. You know, the fuel, maintenance, new tires, road tax, everything is included in the lease. We provide only the vehicle, and the leasing operation is responsible for the maintenance according to the manufacturer's recommendations, the fuel, and any local road taxis or so on. So we do not include service and maintenance. Can we provide roadside assistance? That would be very difficult for us to do, to be completely honest. So no. I mean, we're providing a base, as I just mentioned in the previous answer, a pretty basic lease. We lease you the vehicle, you operate it, and at the end of the lifetime, we dispose of that vehicle. Many of the questions, I might add, that are coming up here are dealt with in that frequently asked question section that Merrill identified. There's a tab in the top bar on the UN Fleet portal, and I would recommend that you look at those FAQs because, as I say, many questions are addressed there. There's another question concerning disposal income. What happens to the income from the sale of that vehicle at the end of life? Well, that's pretty straightforward. What we do, the model that we use in UN Lease, is we go out and we buy vehicles in bulk direct from the manufacturer. We minimize our purchase price by good procurement. And at the end of life, we maximize the residual value of that car, that vehicle, by selling it very well. We have a network of sales, a huge network of sales, and we maximize the residual value. And in fact, so what the country offices or the lease, the lessee, the agency is paying is the difference between what we buy it for and what we sell it for, plus some other costs, you know, the insurance and so on. Therefore, the rate that you are paying on a monthly basis is calculated on what do we pay for it and what will we sell for it. We keep the income. That income comes back into our pot and is then used to buy more vehicles. It's an ongoing cycle. It's a cycle of so on. I see that there's some more questions popping up. We have plenty of time. I can't actually see that. I'm just going to quickly look in the chat and see where the questions are. Oh, my friend Ludovic Kramer. Hi, Ludo. In the case the vehicle is disposed reaching 5-year threshold and not replaced, do you return the benefit of the sale to the agency? No, because there are winners and losers. We do know that in certain countries, sale generates extremely good revenue, Ethiopia, for example, whereas a country like Bangladesh, we can't sell the vehicle. So we balance it out across the organization, Ludo. None of the money goes back to the country office. All residual value comes back to UN Fleet. In countries where we can't sell, we will ship that vehicle from the country, because there are many. We will ship the vehicle from that country and we will arrange disposal outside of the country. And that's a cost that we bear. The leasing agency does not cover that cost. Actually, I see Antoine, a very commonly asked question here. Armored vehicles, the dreaded AVs. Yeah, at the moment, we are not including armored vehicles in our service offering. It is our intention to do so. It's extremely complex. At the moment, we're not able to do it, but obviously it does require a lot of agreement in that lots of agencies have different standards for AVs. We can't really offer leasing armored vehicles until there is a standard or a series of standards between agencies, because we can't stock. If agency A has a very different specification to agency B, the benefits of scale don't come into play. It's a big project that we've identified it, but we are not able to manage that. Mary Mugambi is leaving. Bye-bye, Mary. So, okay. Who will drive these leased vehicles? This is coming from Christian Zazier. Of course, your normal drivers will drive these vehicles. You know, whether it be your staff members who are professional full-time drivers, or whether they're staff members who have the right and permission to drive. You will treat this vehicle in day-to-day operation in pretty much exactly the same way that you would use your existing agency or program-owned vehicles. There is no distinction, other than, of course, ours. The UN Fleet one will be insured properly, it'll be in very good condition, and it will be properly equipped. So, all good. So, it's very funny, actually. I'm seeing all these names pop up in the chat. It's charming because I'm seeing there's very many names that I recognize. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. There's Luigi. Hi, man. Okay, so let me just see. I have other questions here in the chat. I have. I see if there's any questions. Will disposal income be shared? No, sir. That disposal income, as I explained, comes back into the fund to replace vehicles. So this is a really important question, actually, from Lilia. How will billing and payment services are processed? Basically, this is quite a complicated area, but it's actually, it sounds complicated, but it's reasonably straightforward. You know, basically, what we do is quarterly billing. When you receive a vehicle, well, no, let me start at the beginning. When you place a validated vehicle leasing request, you will receive a pro forma invoice, which will tell you what the initial payment is. The initial payment is for 6 months. That must be paid. That 6-month payment must be paid within 30 days of placing the vehicle leasing request, the confirmed vehicle leasing request. You will then receive a payment schedule. The payment schedule will be based on, very simply, I'm being a bit simplistic here, it will be based on an annual cycle. So each year, at the beginning of the year, you will receive, you will have your payment plan. And you have the option. Some agencies have chosen to pay the full year upfront at the beginning of the year, or you can choose to pay on a quarterly basis. So you could make 4 quarterly payments throughout the year, or a single payment at the beginning of the year. Or indeed, if you want, you could actually make 2 payments after 6 months, whichever payment cycle. But that payment cycle is quite important. But in essence, 6 months up front, which is your first payment, and then after 6 months, the next payment becomes available. Payable, which can either be on annual or quarterly basis. I hope, Lilia, that answers your question there. We've covered the minimum leasing period. Yes, Mohammed from Pakistan asking from UNHR, what will happen with UNHR and indeed in WFP, I think in the longer term? What we're aiming for is economy of scale. Once UN Fleet is up and running and is fully established, UNHR GFM will start working absolutely hand in hand with UN Fleet, as will Fleet Center with WFP, who provide vehicles to light vehicles to WFP country offices. So yes, I can't tell you when exactly it's going to happen. It's not going to happen next year, that's for sure. But yes, they will merge. They will come together. Somebody's raised the famous question, Annie, on carpooling. Yes, and you know, the booking hub. We're a separate initiative from the booking hub, but of course, carpooling is becoming a more and more relevant question. We are not into that space at the moment, but carpooling we strongly recommend, we strongly encourage, we strongly advise. But if you wish to bring these vehicles into a carpooling scheme, is absolutely fine. But we will not be at this stage developing a UN fleet carpooling scheme. That's not on our list. But as I said, with the armored vehicles, it is our objective over time to expand the services that UN Fleet will provide. To begin with, we're focusing very much on the leasing of light passenger vehicles with the insurance. And as over time, we will expand these armored vehicles probably and other services. So I see, Giovanni, I see we've got 2 minutes left. All the questions are answered, I think. Giovanni, over to you. Thanks.
Thank you, Rob. I'm glad to see this very open dialogue between all the agencies that are potentially service recipient and the service providers directly. That is the scope of the GSS task team to engage and to bring to the table what are the benefits for everyone to drive this efficiency agenda. Let's remind that we also have a webinar on Thursday for the one of you who wanted to ask fewer questions, but this doesn't exclude all the bilateral engagement, so feel free to reach out to the UN Fleet into the area of engagement and discover more and more details, benefit, and so on. I guess it would be good over the next session maybe to clarify a bit the carpooling vis-a-vis the UN Fleet and the overall current service offering and the value proposition, so we don't create as part of GSS confusion when we explain the two different topics. Maybe more can be done on a Thursday session. In the meantime, I don't know if any final last minute question for Rob or Phil. Otherwise, we can.
Yeah, can I?
Please.
Okay, thanks a lot. It's really a nice presentation, and definitely all the agencies will get benefit of it. As a UNHCR, we are already getting the lease cars and everything, and we are doing the fleet management through GFM. My question is that we are working now as a UN fleet. Do we have any common software or as anything that which give us the efficiency of the vehicle as well? Because for the time being, we're talking about leasing of the vehicles. But when it comes to the UN vehicle, each agency has their own way of monitoring the efficiency of the vehicle. Can we have a common understanding, a common software or something like that, which can give us the information that will be more beneficial for from an office point of view? Means it will be definitely more beneficial for you as well, because this is overall the UN fleet.
Rob, you are in mute. Please, 60 seconds as we like to finish on time. Everyone will have a busy agenda.
We are working toward that, but the day-to-day operation of vehicles in country offices does really remain it's the responsibility of the individual agency. Yes, we do intend to provide tools in the future, but the individual agencies are responsible for data collection. So, Giovanni.
Thank you, Rob. And I hope the answer, I know, was short, but let's keep this dialogue, and we see all of you on Thursday session. Have a good rest of the day. Thank you, Rob, and thank you, Phil.
Thank you very much. Goodbye, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for joining.